Today, I am ranking my syngoniums and most likely hating on some of them. Hello, my name is Palisa. Welcome to Plants and Things, where I talk about plants and things. Before I get into the actual rankings, which will be from least favorite to most favorite, I do want to say that I used to be so obsessed with syngoniums that at a point I wanted to own all the syngonium varieties out there, starting with the pink ones. I've mentioned the pink ones and how it did not work out with those cats, and maybe that's why I stepped off like the whole syngonium thing, but I still honestly love the leaf shape, love those guys, and so let's get into it. In dead last place for my affections are my two rare pink syngoniums. And I say rare specifically because I own 3 pink syngoniums and one of them is well behaved, living her life, doing the most, and two of them like I'm here with them. And I will start by slandering this pink perfection. I think what's extra annoying is this plant was so costly. Maybe that's why I'm so like because of how much I paid for this plant, the dreams I was sold, the dreams I sold myself, and this plant has been growing, but as I've mentioned before, it's growing the same. It was growing really well, and I moved it from, so it was sitting in a direct sun place, and I moved it to an indirect bright sun place, but because it's winter, the indirect bright is also not really that bright anymore, so perhaps even the sun place is actually the direct place. Needless to say, I don't think this plant is liking it because it's still a fussy diva. On top of the fact that it's like not doing what it's supposed to be, it's still insisting on being a fussy diva, but it is pink. It is pink. So, it's bringing that. And the leaves are sizing up. But I think what I find a wee bit annoying is that it's vining instead of like, there's very little space between nodes. So propagation is going to be semi-impossible, really difficult. Now I'm looking into it. So I find that weird because the pink perfections that I saw were not vining. Sorry, did I say vining? I'm trying to think of the word. There was space between the nodes. I can't think of the word now. Anyway, this is the pink perfection. This is my pink perfection. It is in this cute little planter, which I used to be so obsessed with because they're very little round shaped planters that I've seen. So I used to be obsessed with it. Now I'm like, it's okay. But here's the pink perfection. It is yellowing, and that's why I think it's not having the best time, but the yellowing leaves are the bottom leaves. So yeah, guess we're chilling and we're continuing together. And I don't think I'll get rid of this plant because again, I do look forward to the day when it's not an ugly duckling. It isn't an ugly duckling, but when the pretty duckling becomes a swan, yeah, especially because there is quite a big difference between the smaller leaves and the bigger leaves. But besides the sunlight kind of fuss, it's also not the most fussy. It's not the most fussy syngonium that I own. I just think basically this girl is gonna sit at the top of my least favorite list until she does what she is supposed to. But yes, that is that on my syngonium pink perfection. Next up on my list is my syngonium pink tricolor. So this is the plant in question. It is tiny, and I think it is basically green with some like pink speckling, like you can see on the edge. There's this like pink and some pink spotting on the plant, and then some of the leaves do have more pink, but it basically is like a green tiny syngonium. It used to live in my propagation shelf, and now it lives in this little cup in the bathroom. And yeah, it hasn't died, and maybe that's why I'm like giving it points for doing the bare minimum, because the previous one that lived outside died. But in that one's defense, I did leave it dry. I did leave it dry for a long time, so it actually dried out. It died because it dried out, not because it was fussy. So I feel like in my mind though, I still think this plant is really fussy, and so maybe that's why I'm on top of the watering as well. Plus it lives in the bathroom, so it goes between like humid and like really cold, because I leave the bathroom window open all the time. But yeah, it's a very, I want to say it's underwhelming, especially if you've seen pictures of syngonium pink tricolors. And so maybe that's the problem with both of these two plants. It's how hyped up they've been, how I bought into the hype, and then am now like disappointed because I'm like, this is extremely underwhelming. And so maybe if I just gotten the plant just without like knowing anything about it beforehand, I might be like, whoa. Although would I with this one? But anyway. It's one I'm thankful to have it in my collection. Next up on my list is my syngonium auratum, which I've said it once and I've probably said it 1,000 times. I absolutely love the leaf shape of this plant, which is the mature, I guess, form of syngonium leaves. It used to be bigger and longer, but then it fell one day when I was on holiday and I came back and it was splattered on the ground, so I decided to chop it up. And now it's been growing in this planter. And I think it's growing smaller leaves. The leaves are becoming progressively smaller, and I think that's because it's winter. I think. I could be lying to myself. Hopefully it's gonna get back to, yeah, these leaves are smaller. I do think it's a winter thing. Honestly, this plant is very, very low fuss. It just gets on with its business and keeps moving. You can put it, have I put it in direct? Yeah, you can put it in direct light. You can put it in indirect light, and it just keeps moving. I've put it in the lowest light place in this apartment, and not the lowest light place, one of the lowest light places, where only like my variegated peace lily is having a good time. And he had a good time. So yeah, it's a good plant. It's a very, let me say, it's very difficult to get. But yeah, I did get it from a lady who was moving, what is the word? She was moving to the UK. So yeah, and it was an impulse buy, I'll admit it. But it's pretty cute. And it's a pretty cool plant. Yeah, and not fussy. Can I say that again? It's very not fussy plant, and is sitting in one of my absolute favorite planters. Yeah, that's all, because it's like really no fuss. Next up on my list is my neon. I almost said neon pothos. My neon syngonium, and it also has this pink color, and especially honestly when it comes out, ooh, this one is like the pinkest. I don't want to drop this is the pinkest. So it does sit here with my white butterfly, which is doing the most, but I'll talk about her later. And this plant really has worked to creep in my heart, because when I bought it, maybe that's why I love it so much. I was like, okay, you know, like I'll get it, because I wanted to do a whole contrast in this pot, which I honestly, chef's kiss. I've thoroughly been enjoying this plant. Okay, I didn't do that, did I? I broke it more. Anyway, so it's a very low fuss plant. It grows so much. It used to have a thing and then it broke off, and I'm assuming that's how it propagates. So I'm trying to grow that right now, and it's not growing really well. But this is a gorgeous, 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 gorgeous plant that I personally am enjoying. I'm enjoying the pink of this plant is growing more and more on me. Like, it's such a delight. Like, I'm actually delighted by it now. Whereas previously, especially when it darkens, this kind of, I guess why it probably got its name, used to, I don't want to say bother me, but it wasn't my favorite. But now I'm like, this is a pretty shade of pink. So, and the only reason it isn't higher on the list is because the mottled syngonium has been showing off recently, and so, but this would have definitely been higher on the list because it's no fuss. It grows really fast. Yeah, I've grown to be a fan of it. I really enjoy it. I think if you're looking to add some pink to your collection, this is definitely a plant that you should consider. It is extremely affordable. Like, it is definitely one of my most affordable pink plants. And I might have mentioned this in a video before, that I am enjoying my affordable pink plants a whole lot more than I have enjoyed my like rarer, more expensive pink plants, exhibit A in this video. And that's perhaps like a thing to say about you. We don't actually need the most expensive plant, right? Like, you can enjoy the like common regular plants. God made them. They are spectacular and are enjoyable. So, whereas I think sometimes it can be a whole thing that you have to get the most expensive one and then you'll be in. But I definitely have experienced like the opposite with my pink plants. And that is not also to say we should not like get a rare plant if you want to get one. But yeah, I just, with my pink plants, the rare plants have not been so great. Yeah, so enough on that. This is my neon syngonium and she is absolutely gorgeous. Definitely recommend this plant. Next up in my syngonium countdown is my mottled syngonium, and this plant has been showing off. Like, the mottling is gorgeous. Like, look at that. I will also insert a clip of some of my favorite leaves because I have a lot of these. It is absolutely gorgeous, and the key to getting the mottling is direct sunlight. I know people are like, oh, direct sunlight. It is direct sunlight. All of these from direct sunlight, and this reverted vibes, like this one has more reverting vibes, was probably when it wasn't in direct sunlight. It is gorgeous. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous when it does the mottling. And I can't actually wait to like see when it gets into the mature leaf form with the mottling. But the mottling is honestly just gorgeous. And I have I'm going to show you now where the leaf is actually mottled, like it's like crumpled paper. So I'm actually going to show you that. So here is one of the leaves that have actual like mottling, and this probably, it's rough and like crumpled paper, and it's absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. And so this, yeah, like, ooh, I'm even lost for words. Like, what are words? Because it is honestly so beautiful. And like I'm saying, the key is direct sunlight. And this is the one that I chopped off in the previous video because it started doing the reverting thing, and then it just came up and suddenly was like, actually, I know how to act. I know how to be pretty, and I'm going to be pretty, and I'm going to show off. And now it is showing off because this leaf is absolutely gorgeous, and I want to cut it and I want to make more, but then I'm like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? Anyway, so that is the, what is it? That is the tip. Give it direct light. These are also from direct sunlight. They do have less mottling like this. This is probably the tensest in a good way, that I've seen. So I am so happy with this plant. We're having a good time together. So before I actually go to the next plant, I did want to show this. This is a reverted syngonium, mottled syngonium, but I absolutely love this plant too. At one point I thought about selling it, and I was like, no, I actually cannot. So it does also stem from one plant that grew multiple vines, and although it's reverted, I absolutely think it's gorgeous. It sits in the entryway of my one-bedroom apartment, because one-bedroom apartments have entryways. And it's just absolutely gorgeous for different reasons, you know. So I think that's what I also am definitely enjoying about this plant, is that it can grow different ways. And so even when it does have the reverted leaves, it's still gorgeous, but those reverted leaves are definitely showing off. And the reason this one doesn't have as much variegation, so it has that faded, it starts off like this, where it's like bright when the leaf is new and then it fades off. So it has the spotting, but it's more faded. And the reason it does that is because this one is sitting in a darker space, so it's not receiving any direct light, but I still find it absolutely gorgeous. And I am putting it on a trail so that it grows up. I want it to grow up. Yeah, and perhaps even have two, because I'm looking to maybe get another type of syngonium and like put them together and have contrast. Love contrast. So and then they can just grow up and up and up, and we see where that goes. So I might make a trellis for this. Stay tuned to see that. But yeah, you'll see more of this girl in my tour video, which will be in the future. Yeah, so it grows in such different ways, and all of it bringing such beautiful like differences. So I do recommend this plant. Second place for the syngonium that I absolutely love, and I must say it is a very close tie, is this syngonium white butterfly. I have mentioned before that I got this from a cutting that my mom gave me, and I had to root it from scratch, and then like it's become this. In the beginning it was growing so slow, but it's honestly a very fast grower. It's still growing prolifically in winter, and just the gorgeousness of these leaves. There's one like crazy beautiful leaf that it like sometimes it has just this random dark like I'm like trying to, you know, random dark spot, which is absolutely gorgeous. I saw another one and I'm like, huh, did I imagine it? I didn't. I did not imagine it, but I cannot find it. So I guess I will have to let it go / look when I'm not under pressure, but, or maybe that was the one I was thinking of. Anyway, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the shape of the leaves. I like the, yeah, just how it grows. I think growing up, everyone's house had a syngonium. I feel like everyone's house had this particular syngonium in it. And so maybe I have fond memories of that as well, but I absolutely think it is gorgeous. And okay, there's a random spot. Maybe this is the one I was thinking of, but it's very tiny, like a tiny green spot. So I really like how it looks. I like how it like is like it like what is the word? Like it like wants to fall out of the pot. I enjoy that quite a bit. I really like the color. I like the veining. Yeah, it's definitely gorgeous. It does have some leaves that are dying that probably need to be plucked out. It is, I think, kind of maybe overgrowing the planter, but it hasn't complained yet, so I'm not going to change it. Yeah, so this is definitely a plant that has a special place in my heart. If I had to downsize my plant collection, this is definitely a plant that knows it's staying, because it's absolutely gorgeous, doing the most. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. So the second place is my mottle syngonium, and number one is really gaining number one by the skin of its teeth. Number one in my syngonium collection affections is my syngonium alba, probably to no one's surprise, because this plant is so gorgeous. And I think I was like watching randomly another video that I made a couple of months ago, and this plant has grown a lot since then. And I think the like great thing about it is that it is becoming fuller as it's growing, as opposed to growing taller, and that's why it's like becoming more gorgeous and lush as it's growing, because I'm doing the whole thing I'm sorry, from the back, where I'm just rounding it up and down. And I saw a woman one day who said she was doing that on Instagram, and it felt so impossible, and I started doing it, and it is, yeah, so it it seems to me, I guess that whole thing that like you don't see a difference if you're seeing something every day, but because I saw that video and I was like, this plant used to be bare and now it is so full and lush, and each leaf, I cannot overstate or understate. Each leaf is completely different, like a completely new, like, masterpiece that God is making. And the taller they are growing, especially this side is becoming more like white propagation, not all white, but the propagation is becoming more pronounced, and this side is more green for some reason, and I don't know why that is. But this, I did mention at the beginning of the video, is the syngonium with the most stable variegation, it is being said. And because that's the thing about these like variegated plants, that you just never know what you're getting. Whereas with this plant, even if you get an all green leaf, and I wonder whether I've ever actually gotten an all green leaf. I've gotten, I think this one is probably like really all green. I don't know whether you can see it. This is a very green leaf. This is another really green. So I have gotten really green leaves with like a dot of white, but you really don't have to worry because you will get more like variegation as you go along. So when I first had this plant, I did grow it down, and that is something I definitely think is a bad idea with syngoniums, to let them trail. Do not do that. I think with some plants, people like make it go up. Like, I guess there's an obsession right now with having plants climb up moss poles especially, but I think that is valid where syngoniums are concerned, because the leaves do become bigger, or even if they do not become bigger, the leaves will become smaller. If you make it, if it trails down, the leaves become smaller, and it does not necessarily need anything for the roots to go into. My roots, like this plant's roots, are not going into anything. They're not growing into a moss pole. It's just simply the moving it up and down is helpful for it. It is making the leaves grow bigger, and I think this wouldn't have happened if this plant wasn't trailing up. Yeah, and even the vines, some of them, this one is becoming lighter because that also is linked to the variegation. But yeah, it's definitely a gorgeous plant. And what I love also about this turning up and down thing, and why I recommend it, is that there's never going to be a bald spot, because, you know, as plants grow longer and bigger, the bottom dies. Like, that's just natural process, that the oldest leaves die. So then you generally would have a bald spot at the bottom. But with this situation, even as these plants are yellowing and dying off, as they should, because that's, you know, how it works, I know that new leaves are going to grow there again, which is great. So cannot remember who said this, but I tried to go find the person on Instagram, and I couldn't find them, but I'll try again because this was genius. I absolutely love it, and I think it's made me fall more and more in love with this plant, and also be able to manage the plant, because otherwise it would be going up, honestly. So, and it just is perfect in that spot where it lives and the planter is. See what I meant when I said I prefer a big plant with a small planter rather than a small plant and a big planter. So this is an exact like talk about it, but because this is one, it's actually two vines, but the other vine, sorry, not vines, it's two plants. This is the second plant, and it's really growing very slow, and I think the variegation is yellow. That is so crazy. That is crazy. I think as this grows bigger, that is crazy. I am extremely surprised. I will do a close-up, but this looks very, very yellow. Anyway, so this is the plant that has two leaves at the back, and the rest of this is one plant that grew vines, 3 vines, and that's not something you can control. God does that. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely my favorite syngonium. And it also is the most improved syngonium over the year. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one. If you're in South Africa, you can check out my Instagram. I'll have some for sale. Yeah, that's my favorite syngonium. That is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And also comment letting me know what your favorite syngonium is. Until next time, bye!